What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Good evening. Welcome back to Around the VLA. This is what we're calling season 3, episode 7. It's Wednesday, March 15th. It is nice and late because Vince, live from Phoenix, Arizona, they choose to ignore daylight savings time and have thrown an extra late episode at us because of that. But Vince, live from Arizona, thanks for joining us. My name is Rob St. Clair, live from Chicago. We've got a lot to talk about here on Around the VLA because now that we've caught our breath, I personally have physically recovered from the biggest tournament in VLA history, a 20-team banger at the Central Division Cup in Chicago just about a week and a half ago. Vince, I know you were watching from afar, but it was a massive success. It was a huge tournament, and there's a lot for us to break down.
Yeah, absolutely. It was pretty amazing watching that from Arizona and being able to follow along. I mean, uh, really tough on the players obviously playing until Sunday morning from 7 a.m. On Saturday, but it was actually really cool from our perspective because we literally just turn on the YouTube channel and we get to watch VLA volleyball literally nonstop all day.
It was a lot. It was a huge amount of volleyball. I think I kept saying during the tournament that it was 43 matches, and at the end of all of that, the Chicago Icemen win the Central Division Cup, their first VLA tournament series win in their franchise's history. A lot has been made on this very show and several other places about their ability to get it done in tournaments just like this, and they delivered in a very, very big way. We can start with the Icemen and talk about the final, which I think might be one of the best matches in VLA history. Before we talk about the rest of the tournament, Vince, what were your perceptions of the Icemen in getting this tournament done? Crazy 5-set win over Team NV in the final.
They had a lot better focus from the beginning. I felt like I think that Tim did a good job. We talked about player management is something that they had a very big issue with throughout their entire existence in the VLA, and it was definitely something that they managed very well throughout this tournament. And you could tell they definitely had the freshest legs going into that final. Obviously, Team Envy did a fantastic job of putting up making it a dogfight. But yeah, I mean, you can't say enough about how they played and how well they did, and just getting those guys involved. I love how Lewis Richard stepped up big. He's been kind of a question mark, but I mean, coming in big in the final. Obviously, Dave Hancock moving to the outside, huge contribution there. But the team finally played the way that we knew that they could play all along.
And I think that's exactly right. I know this team pretty well. I'm a Chicago guy. I see them a lot. I'm at all the Central Division events, and it was about time that this Iceman team put it together like that. And boy, did they! that final over Team NV was absolutely ridiculous. But it was just as crazy the semifinal that they won just before that against the Milwaukee Dive, which I think went 21-19 in the fifth. And the fact that they, with some thinness, especially around their outside hitter position. The fact that they were able to show up in that final with some decently fresh looking legs and have managed their roster to that point to even get there and play good volleyball was really, really impressive to me. You could tell that that learning curve meant something to the Icemen. You could tell that us trash talking to them on this show about not being able to get it done in tournaments like that really meant something to those guys, and they absolutely delivered. I mean, the final over Team NV was amazing. Iceman went up 2-0, 27-25, a late comeback in the second before NV turned it around completely. It went all the way the distance in 5, as it almost did. I mean, Team NV, when they were SoCal Ruckus last year at the same tournament, did the same thing to the other Chicago team, going down 0-2 to Swede in the final before coming back and winning that one in 5. The Icemen were not willing to let it slip between their fingers, though. Well-deserved MVP to Scott Sawicki. It's crazy that we've had 2 divisional cups so far this year. The MVPs of both of them have been middles. How rare is that? I would be shocked if that trend continued, but Sawicki absolutely deserved it. You brought up Dave Hancock switching positions. He's an all VLA caliber middle blocker, but switched to the outside out of necessity and played great. Looked like a total natural. Sunil Thomas was great. Griffin Shields was great. Colin Merck was great as usual. And this Iceman team really fought as hard as they could and deserved that win. So it was cool for me to see them get that done, because we've kind of been waiting for Tim and those guys to put it together like that, and they did.
Yeah, I definitely feel that after the first event this year, where I think that they left a lot of question marks out there to whether or not they were the same team. I mean, maybe the rest of the pack just kind of caught up to them. And they needed this breakout tournament. I think this was a good opportunity for them, and they capitalized on it in completely. And so, huge congratulations to Chicago Icemen for what they were able to accomplish. And every single one of those guys had just a big contribution to the team. And that's what you need. And we preach that so much in the VLA, is that, you can't get it done with 7 guys. You got to
No
have
way.
12 to 14 guys. And this is absolutely a perfect example of a team that ran 14 guys deep in this tournament and did an amazing job. And it showed. Obviously, they get the cup victory. So, the first one of their first one in franchise history.
Yeah, it sets them up pretty nice for the rest of the season, that's for sure. Yeah, a couple of their bench guys that deserve a shout out. Chris Cox, backup setter. Luke Spicer, backup opposite. Enrique Barajas, who came in at both like outside hitter and backup libero and had a huge service run in the final off the bench and made a great play in the 5th set that was key for the Icemen. Like those are those sort of depth pieces. Like Will Kraft playing sparingly and like in and out from coaching. He was big. They saved Brandon Poindexter just long enough with his back issue to have him ready to go for the final. Joe Kensinger, number 15 there, was another big part of that depth in the middle for the Icemen. So they really did take all of those pretty bitter lessons from Cup Series tournaments in the past and learned from them and used every single body they had on that roster to get this done. So congratulations to Tim and the guys. I know that cup tasted awfully sweet for them. And Vince, with your and my knowledge combined of every match ever played in the VLA, where do you think that final ranks? Like in league history, there have been some unbelievable matches already in the pretty early history of the league. Where's that final? I think it's got to be pretty high up there, maybe a top 5 match ever.
It's crazy to say this, but I think that them and Dive in the set before was equally
It was
is crazy.
so
So
good.
it just to have back to back to where Iceman had to play 2 of the best matches in VLA history, combined back to back, 10 sets within a span of 4 hours. I mean, it was very, very impressive, and it speaks volumes to their, the way that they came together and contributed. All of those guys contributed to get that victory. But I mean, I think just the fact that was a final, I think that goes a little bit more. I would definitely say that's definitely a top 3. I can only think of really one other Iceman match actually that really comes to mind, and it was actually the second match of their actual of the VLA was a pretty epic one back when Wyzoric and
2020. Yeah, they had
2020,
a couple
that was
bangers
only a
that
full play
tournament.
match, and it was like, wow, this is VLA volleyball right here.
Yeah,
But no, I mean, this had
man.
so much on the line. Just the storyline itself, it was just written out there in stone. So it's great to see that, and I'd have to definitely put it up there, one or two. If you could find another one, put it in the chat.
Yeah, great call. If you've got any in mind, if you're watching live right now, put any of your favorite matches in VLA history in the chat right now. We'll, me and Vince will react to them. And I mean, it's crazy to say because the team that ended up coming up just barely short in the final, Team NV, who's now finished second at both the Cup Series tournaments this year so far. They set the curve. Christiana Murr and her 2 teams set the curve on how to succeed in VLA Cup Series tournaments. And finally, the rest of the league is caught up, and the Rising Tide winning in the West and the Icemen winning in the Central. Do you think, Vince, that maybe if Caleb Denmark doesn't go down in the 5th set, the Team NV might pull off that reverse sweep? I felt maybe that they at least had the momentum before one of their most important players went down with an ankle injury.
They definitely did. I mean, he went down at 2-2, and then
Yeah, it was
Iceman
early.
responds with a 6-point run, or maybe it was a 4-point run right after. I think it was 6-2 before they sided out. But I mean, that's so huge in a set 5, and definitely a momentum killer for Team Envy. Caleb Denmark being one of the best outside hitters in the league. You can't lose that guy and just throw somebody else out there to win it. And obviously, the guy they put in was Liam Maxwell, or sorry,
It
James
was probably
Anastasiades.
Anastasiades, yeah.
Yeah, but I
Just
mean,
as good.
I mean, yeah, you're filling in with a fantastic player, but a guy who hasn't played in 4 sets and has been watching, it's really tough to just jump into a set 5 like that. But I mean, he still gave them a good opportunity. But yeah, if Caleb Denmark goes down, I mean, you may be looking at a set that goes, 23-25.
In the
at
fifth.
5. I mean, if Iceman was going to win that match, so unfortunate that happened, obviously, but injuries happen, and it's you just got to play through it. So still can't take anything away from what the Icemen did, because they definitely took care of business, and that got the win for them.
Yeah, they earned it for sure. Team NV, it's an interesting one. We're so used to seeing them dominate these tournaments. Then the rest of the league deserves credit for really catching up and learning what it takes. But I think we talked about it after Team NV's West Division Cup loss. Are there cracks in that team's offense? Is Joe Kawiakamoa, your former teammate, is he attacking too much? Has he lost a little bit of trust in his wings? I think I was bringing that up at a couple different points during the broadcast. Is that Team NV offense a little bit more beatable than it used to be, in your opinion?
I think it's more the teams have really adjusted to him.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be he used to attack a lot and just score points, because and the fact of the matter is in set 3 and 4, I mean, he was, I think he swung 3 balls in a row and scored on, or 2 balls in a row, back to back, scored on him. I mean, it's just like the guy can score at the net whenever he, pretty much chooses. However, I think that teams have definitely adjusted and recognized that he's an attack first type of guy in the front row. So when your focus is seeing that first contact coming at you, and then you react to the set from there. I mean, yeah, it may throw off your block or maybe defensive scheme a slight bit, maybe a little bit easier for the MV attackers, but at the same time anymore, it's really one of those things where I think teams have just locked in on him, and so it is less effective. So yeah, I would say I think the teams have just gotten better compared to what Team MV was used to seeing. I mean, this is definitely, in my opinion, a better Iceman team that has played the Central Division Cup for sure last year. And the Rising Tide team that was able to beat Team MV was definitely a better Rising Tide team than was the year before. And then you look at the pool play matches that Team MV lost. They lost to Dimes earlier, which was another great team. They lost to Dive, which Dive has really been one of the teams that has, I don't know, there's kind of been a little bit of a stigma where, teams don't do well against Envy. They've had no problem competing against Envy anytime.
Point.
So, where I think Envy's pretty much dominated everybody else at one time or another, I think Dive is really the only team that hasn't had that issue with Team Envy. So I do give them a lot of credit for their victory in the pool play match.
Yeah, and that was a great match. So let's talk a little bit more about the rest of the tournament. Go through start from the bracket, work our way backwards a little bit. I think is a decent way to do it. So obviously the Icemen coming out over Team NV in the final. We've talked about that a decent amount. Of the third place teams, we talked a little bit about Dive and that crazy semifinal that they played against the Icemen, losing 21-19 in the fifth. Also, the Chicago Swede, another Tier 1 squad who. When they were playing in Tier 2 last year, went all the way to the final in this tournament. Swede had a more interesting road because Swede got upset in their pool by the Kentucky Unicorns. And that was that crazy pool with Dive and NV. And the Kentucky Unicorns played phenomenal volleyball on Saturday morning, beat Swede in a great 5-setter. But actually, in doing that, Swede coming out of that pool in fourth got a pretty darn good draw, which was very interesting. They got a really good bracket draw because also in Pool D, that 1 seed Emiola also got upset. So Swede got to play a pool winner. That was the Columbus Crimson. That was the team they were able to handle. And then they beat like their crosstown team, the 6-3 Buddy Bears that they see all the time. So while Swede got third place in the tournament, their match win-loss record wasn't actually as good. I think 2-2 only.
Yeah, 2-2.
Yeah, and then they didn't do themselves any favors in terms of the standings. So let's actually look at that before we move on a little bit. So the Tier 1 standings now, we've got the Icemen up there with the Rising Tide with those teams with cup wins. They're basically playing with house money the rest of the regular season. They're guaranteed a spot in the Tier 1 championship tournament, the playoffs. Team Pineapple, despite losing in the round of 8, finishing tied for 5th, they had a really good weekend in terms of match win-loss. They won their pool. They won a bracket game. They beat Emiola before losing to NV. So they go 3-1, and they're sitting 4th in the league right now in terms of points per match played. So although Swede finished higher in the tournament, in terms of match win-loss coming out for the rest of the season, Pineapple actually had the better event that Swede did.
Yeah, and that's important to note is that, those pool play matches do matter.
Absolutely.
go over in the in pool play, and then you could have a great tournament, but at the same time you gotta perform the entire tournament, and which is why we have it that way. I mean, we've been asked a handful of times that why maybe do a 2 out of 3 or something like that in the in pool play, and then go into the bracket play. But it's like, well, the thing is every single one of these matches is relevant. There's a point value to all of them,
Right.
and the teams need to approach it as such. And I think that I don't think that Swede by any means tried to lose that match to Unicorns. I think Unicorns definitely played great. They had a fantastic tournament, but they definitely come out and upstart, to Swede, where you play that match early, and then you come in as your second match, you're ready to go, and that other team is still kind of, getting the feel of the whole event. And Swede and Emiola getting upset that way, it happens. That's kind of the dangerous losing that seed. But moving forward, Swede, I think, recovered nicely. Obviously, getting the win against Crimson, that's a good win. Getting the win against Buddy Bears, two tier 2 teams right there.
That are both good, and then they
Yeah,
got 6 points total from that, which they kind of needed
right.
to resurrect their tournament. But then a question for them: I was really confused by Swede's roster management when they got to the semifinal. I was really, really confused. They started that semifinal against a very intimidating team that they had seen before, and they started that match with their 3 best players on the bench. They didn't have Jack McGuire, Ethan Klosak, or Mike Boduk in the game, and I just didn't understand that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of for Jordan, Smith to answer that question on what the mindset is there. I know that when we played Team Envy as well, though I think some of my guys are comparable. I mean, we had Sam Haggard on the bench, who is routinely a guy that we have play big matches. So I think that maybe Sweet had the mindset of what if we get past this, or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but at the same time, I mean, you make choices in your event. You kind of have a game plan. You try to stick with it as much as possible. And, I hate to say it, but a lot of times it doesn't work out. There's only one winner in the end. So, maybe that's just they gave it a shot, a different route this time, and it didn't pay off.
Yeah, well, we'll see how Swede learns from it. Yeah, they've got Swede's got work to do going into their last regular season event in Louisville, 3-5. I think are they tied for last or just straight up last in points
They
per
are
match played?
last after
Yeah,
Force had with the
yeah,
point.
you're right. Northeast Force
Yeah,
had a great weekend in Boston and Swede, although they finished tied for third, not as good a match win loss. So they've got a lot of work to do the rest of the regular season.
especially seeing that they're going to be playing. Force has a cut to play,
They
where
do.
they'll see a handful of tier 2 teams, as opposed to Swede, which will go and will play Iceman twice and Team Pineapple twice. They definitely have their work cut out for them.
Not gonna be easy. So let's wrap up on the Milwaukee Dive just a little bit more. That team was decimated, decimated with injuries. They learned like a week before that their starting setter Ian Zalewski was out. He's got like a bone chip in his knee or something. They lose their second setter Jake Walenga in that 5-set win in pool play over Team NV, and have to roll with their third string setter the rest of the tournament. They had a libero playing outside hitter. They had Mitch Perinar, who was unbelievable, all tournament, well deserved, take like just a million swings, was pretty much their entire offense, and even still kept their level so high to take the Icemen to the limit in the semifinals. So I'm always just so impressed with Dive. Like without Chandler North, without Tyler Wills for a segment of the tournament on Saturday, that Dive's so good, man. They really they play and they conduct themselves like a tier 1 team already, and I think it's pretty safe to expect them to get up to that level in the next couple of years. But I think we might even be talking about a different team winning this tournament if Dive had been healthy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, being down a handful of players. I mean, obviously Chandler North, who's a starting outside hitter for them, he adds so much depth when you can get Tomas Goldsmith,
Yeah,
Tyler Wilson,
Tomas wasn't healthy either. Tomas could only play back row. I mean, they were dealing with maybe more injury than any other team.
Yeah, and it's tough too, because on the flip side of that, they have Milwaukee Gold, who kind of they shuffle players from time to time. Took a handful of depth from them, which they weren't anticipating the injuries obviously right beforehand. So I mean, there's a lot of factors in there. Dive's going to be fine. They're pretty much on path to get third promotion. at their own will. As soon as they pretty much choose to, they're gonna rack up those. I think they need 41 points. That's
Yeah,
4 tournaments for
50,
them.
59 sounds about right. Yeah, they are like nobody's going to catch them in the Central. That's for
Yeah,
sure. Nobody's
yeah.
catching Dive in the Central.
In my opinion, they're 4 tournaments away from earning the promotion. The way that they play, so
Yeah.
they're going to be just fine. Unfortunate that they only got the semifinal. Good, would have been good for them if they would have beat Iceman, but
You get 2 points there though.
yeah,
Taking a tier
two
one
two
team to
points is great
five
for them.
is big
Yeah,
2 points. Yeah.
yeah. But then you question that them getting past Iceman, how would that final have looked against Team Envy, them limping into that one as opposed to
Yeah.
Iceman being a little bit more fresh. It would have been interesting, but obviously they didn't pull it off, but still got to give huge credit to Dive on what they've
Yeah.
accomplished this weekend.
Great tournament. So now we've talked about all the semifinalists. Let's go over the all tournament team. Give those guys from those 4 teams a shout out. We talked about Scott Sawicki, the MVP of the tournament. And if you're a middle and you get an MVP nod in a tournament like this, you must have had a really special weekend. And Sawicki absolutely did. Serving the ball, especially. He was absolutely unconscious from the service line. So good. So good. Not just the aces, but the runs that he was able to put together, just putting teams out of system for one reason or another. The Icemen were scoring points on serve when he was back there, and had a huge blocking run to make the comeback in the second set in the final as well. So Sawicki was awesome. I thought Sunil Thomas was awesome. All VLA last year, all tournament here. We talked about Caleb Denmark being kind of the heart and soul of Team Envy this event. He was great until that unfortunate ankle injury in the final. We talked about Dave Hancock switching positions. You could have put him at all tournament either outside or middle blocker. And I know it might have played a little bit of opposite as well. The dude is just a freak utility player, but he got the nod at outside hitter. We talked about Mitch Perinar, the lefty on the right side from Milwaukee Dive. He was their workhorse offensively with and without Tyler Wills next to him. Logan Clark from Team NV I thought was really good in the middle. We talked about NV in San Diego being a little more fragile, or like not excelling in the middle blocker position the way that they usually
dominant.
do.
And Logan Clark definitely stepped up and gave him a little
Totally.
something extra. And that was definitely something that they needed. We expected Matt August to be there for whatever. He was on the roster, but so a lot of guys are on the rosters and don't show up. So Matt August wasn't able to make this one, but Logan Clark I think definitely did a fantastic job. I think that he could be one of those answers. I think that we're talking about Team MV again. They're just I think another pin away from probably being or maybe just another opposite that can split that time effectively with Michael
Wexter. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would certainly help. Yeah, Logan Clark was a really promising piece for them in the middle. Paul Bolanzik for Swede had a great tournament, the big 7-footer, and then Como. Another tournament, another Como, all tournament award of Libero. No surprise there. The dude's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, he had a fantastic tournament. Obviously, this one, I mean, you could look at the interchanging between him and Colin Merck, but I definitely think Merck was not as big of a factor for Iceman winning as much as Dave Hancock being efficient on the outside. Merck did his thing, obviously, and not even saying that he played better or worse than Como, but I think that Dave Hancock definitely was the most relevant of the Iceman players to really step up and help them win that championship.
I totally agree. So congrats to the all tournament team sponsored by Axio Training. We got all those guys in Axio Trainer, which is awesome. So that we'll continue to give out those for the all tournament team of all the VLA Cup Series tournaments. So big shout outs to Axio for their support of the VLA. You want to talk about a little bit of pool play? Look back at the pools because they were actually pretty electric. There was some really good stuff going on in pool play. Like this pool A here, we talked about Team Pineapple having a relatively good weekend. They were this close to being yet another 1 seed to lose to their 4 seed. And the Milwaukee Gold pushed them to the limit. That was such a good match. I remember like standing in that gym in the other venue at the IBA on like midday Saturday. I was standing there with the Buddy Bears who were waiting to play their match, watching Team Pineapple and the Milwaukee Gold just in a heavyweight fight, like early in the tournament. We were looking around like, all right. The overall level of this tournament, like compared this 20-team tournament versus any tournament in the past in the VLA, a 1-4 match in pools would have never been that good. That was a serious tone setter for me. Milwaukee Gold is a good team. And like you said, like they had a couple players that had no choice but to go and support the Milwaukee Dive like within a week of the tournament. So they had a great outing. The Buddy Bears and the Lost Travelers played each other again. They played in San Diego. They were in the same pool here. That was a good match. Team Pineapple do end up winning the pool, but very, very fun pool. That Pineapple versus Gold match had the potential to turn the tournament on its head.
Yeah, I mean exactly what we saw with Sweet and Emiola.
Sweet, yeah, Sweet and Emiola
Know,
both losing.
It's a dangerous match. I mean, like I said, they're coming in. They've just played a match. They just got a win. And a 3-0 win at that. They get their kind of a warm up match, and then they're ready to play. Where Team Pineapple just walks through the doors, and Team Pineapple still they still have a little bit of those things that we're waiting for them to figure out. They're doing it. They're making the right things, and them getting a 5-set win may look kind of not great on paper to a 4 seed, but the fact that they're able to pull these matches out, that's really good practice for them down the road.
I agree.
Because that's one of the things that they've had an issue with is being able to pull those matches out. If they get comfortable win in a 5-set match, that's a really good place to be comfortable. So,
sure is.
I mean, and so I think that's one of those things where, I mean, that win, yeah, okay, they only get 2 points out of it, but at the same time, I mean, they definitely looked still comfortable in that 5-set match, and then being able to pull that out. Again, it's for the future, not always for the match you're playing. So I think that they're still in a great place of how they're developing.
Agreed. Yeah, they had Bruno back on the right side, who's just an absolute joy to watch. They did a pretty good job with roster management as well, using both their setters, using all their outside hitters, and they had Dryden back, who's also a joy to watch at libero. So, yeah, I agree. I thought Team Pineapple had a promising weekend. Like they ran into NV first thing Saturday morning in the bracket, and there was nothing they could do at that point. But 3-0 on Saturday was very good for Team Pineapple. So good for them. And yeah, even going back to the very first event of the year in Fort Wayne, they showed an ability that we hadn't seen the last couple of years to be comfortable in those late set, 5th set situations. And we saw it again here in pool play. So good for them. I thought the Buddy Bears looked pretty good. I thought the Lost Travelers played better than they had, like a little more like the Lost Travelers team that we had been hoping to see. Taking what was it, 3rd in this pool, holding seed. That was better from them, and
and then winning a match in the
and they won a match in bracket as well.
And that's the thing with Lost Travelers, and both Lost Travelers and Buddy Bears, they're going to see each other so often in these pools.
They're exactly at that kind of same level. Yeah,
I mean, just because they consistently score, they consistently earn points in these tournaments, and they're pretty much where they're going to be. They just need to continue to progress, to keep earning those points, maintaining that rank, making sure that teams below them aren't really catching up to them, and they can put themselves in a good position. I think that they did a good job with that this weekend. Buddy Bears, same thing. I mean, they're just one of those teams that they're going to get 6, maybe 8 points every single cup, and that's huge for these teams to do. I don't think that they're really on the pace to go and get a promotion, this year or next year. But at the same time, they're really just, moving up the rank and giving themselves the opportunities to beat some of these teams and earn points. And, I think that they've done a really good job, both Buddy Bears and Lost Travelers. They definitely represented well in this tournament.
Yeah, there's like a couple different categories of tier 2 teams that I've started to notice. There's the brand new ones who play a couple events, and it really takes them basically a whole season to kind of figure out what they're doing in the VLA. Then we've got a group of tier 2 teams right now who's super active, playing all these exhibitions. They're getting a ton of 1 point here, 1 point there, 1 point here. Not so much in the Cup Series tournaments, but they're taking a lot of initiative, and they're getting a lot of extra little points here and there from organizing their own events. And we'll talk about some of those teams later on. But teams like the Buddy Bears and the Lost Travelers are getting those same number of points from cup tournaments only, because they go to only the cups, and they get 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 points per event that they go to. So they don't need to grind 3 or 4 times a month playing random exhibitions to get points. They are good enough to go to a tournament like this and come close to double digits every time. So that is going to be big for them. And I very much agree that the Buddy Bears and the Lost Travelers are similar in how they're approaching things. And I love both those teams. They're both really fun to watch. Both play a lot of good volleyball.
Fun to watch and honestly pretty dangerous. I mean, you don't want to see them in the first round. I mean, Ascension's 0-1 against Buddy Bears, so I mean, we they are a very good team. So both groups you don't really want to see. You're happy that you get that first match against a potential lower seed before having to go up and play against one of these two teams.
Yeah.
So 100% like what they're doing.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Pool B. This one was basically the only pool where really everything worked out about how we expected. Other than the very first match in the morning, the Colorado Kingsmen coming in with a crazy 5-set win over the Steel City Surge from Pittsburgh. That was a great match. But after that, the teams pretty much held seats. So like Flo beat Inferno, no problem. Icemen beat Kingsmen, no problem. Surge beat Inferno surprisingly easily in that 3-5 game. And then Icemen beat Flo, no problem. So this one was kind of the only one where there wasn't all that much drama other than the first match in the morning.
Yeah, huge shout out to Kingsmen. They actually weren't even in the tournament. They actually were a late entry after a team had to drop out, and so they came in and they are super excited, super motivated to be involved. And give them credit. I mean, they came in and got a victory right away. And I like to see our West and kind of that mountain region that's kind of been missing. We have so many areas of the United States covered right now, but the Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, Texas, that area right there. I love to see that some of these teams are out playing in the VLA now and representing well.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. I know the Kingsmen just traveled to Utah over the weekend to play some exhibitions, so that was really cool. But yeah, the Icemen were the best team in this pool. I think that was pretty clear. The River City Flow were good, but without the size and the depth on the wings that we were kind of used to seeing, they were going to have a ceiling on them in this tournament, unfortunately. As good as their setters are, as good as their middles are, no Sam Albus and average height of like 5'11" at the outside hitter position. That wasn't going to take them quite as far as maybe they would have liked this tournament.
Yeah, it's tough when you don't have Sam Albus. I mean, he's one of the best oppos in the league, and with him not there, it pained him to not be there. But it's not the same Flow team without him.
Yeah, Nick Drucker though, shout out, one of my favorite setters in the league to watch. Dude's an absolute monster. So really not much to talk about Pool B, but just as we were coming in, Vince, we knew this Pool C, was going to be ridiculous, and it absolutely was. We already talked about the Kentucky Unicorns beating Swede. We talked about Dive beating Team NV. The NV took care of Southside XP, no problem. The Dive took care of the Unicorns, basically no problem. Hard to blame the Unicorns for running out of gas after the 5-setter against Swede, but we've already talked about those top 3 teams. I want to give the Kentucky Unicorns a shout out. That team is good. That team is really, really good. Corey and Casey Pieper, clearly the best brother duo, I think, in the VLA right now, and it's not particularly close. Those two dudes can carry a team to beat literally anyone in a given match. They were absolutely fantastic, surprisingly scrappy, surprisingly experienced, and those two dudes ripping high balls were extremely difficult to defend, and Swede found that out the hard way. Huge shout out to the Unicorns.
Yeah, no, that's actually kind of the rumor that has been going around about the Kentucky Unicorns. They played and won a tournament. I can't remember which one it was. It was
the Michigan tournament. It was a big one. They beat the Buddy Bears in the finals, and that was a pretty stacked event.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone was commenting about their defense. They touch everything. They dig everything. They just send balls over and let you make the mistake. And I mean, they proved what they could do. I mean, coming out and beating a tier 1 team is no easy task. And the fact that they were able to come in, upset Swede, who definitely felt like they had a lot to prove. Congrats to Unicorns for accomplishing a lot. Definitely. Again, we talk about the player management. We talk about the teams getting burnt out. Trying to run 3 and then on 4th on top of this, all in one day because of the first round of tournament play. I mean, it's tough to prepare for that when it's your first cup event. And so, but still, huge shout out to Kentucky Unicorns. They definitely made a statement this tournament, and I definitely think the league needs to be prepared as they they're gonna learn. They got Shane Green leading them, and he's a volleyball wizard, and he's gonna be getting these guys prepared for better events down the road.
Yeah, I just liked watching this team play. It was really cool to see him have so much success so early. So last but not least, Pool D. Vince, stop me if you've heard this one before. But the Dallas Dogs beat Emiola again. They're 3-0 against them this year. Dogs pulling off 2 reverse sweeps in pool play. So going down 0-2 to the Beer City Brewers, bringing that one back. Going down 0-2 to Emiola, bringing that one back. Like that. That was just another stunner. Crazy.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that the Dogs were spent after
Yeah,
after that
yeah.
one as
They
well.
they ran
But
out of gas, and who can blame them?
here's the crazy thing about Dogs is they don't eat. They didn't even field a handful of their starters that will be at the VLA Cup. They have I
Tim
forgot his name.
Johnson is the opposite. He
Yeah,
wasn't there.
Johnson,
Yeah,
who wasn't there. They have another middle that wasn't there, but they actually do have depth. Did it show up to the tournament? No, but I think that it will be there at VLA Cup, and they're definitely a team that teams need to look out for because uh, if they can go 3-0 over Emiola, they're a dangerous team. So huge congrats to Dogs at how they play, but another same situation as the Unicorns. 4 matches in one day is really tough to pull
that's
off,
so
especially
much.
when
Yeah.
I think they played 17 sets or something like that. That's a lot of volleyball.
Dug themselves a couple of 0-2 holes, but yeah, that was a lot of volleyball. It's crazy. Like the only possible way that a team could have played 4 matches on Saturday is if the 4 or 5 seed upset the 1 seed in a pool, and it happened twice. And so those teams got so many points early, but they unfortunately there was no way to stop them from having to play even more matches, and it's just so hard to handle all that.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, at the same time, you go into it and you bring what you can. And I know some of the tier 2 teams being very, very new, still that learning curve right there. But the fact that they're going out and getting those match wins, again, beating an Emiola in pool play for the second time in 2 tournaments, that's a huge accomplishment, and you got to give them a lot of credit for that.
Yep, but the Dallas Dogs did not win Pool D. That was the Columbus Crimson. Very impressively, like 6-0 in sets, like no problem. They take care of their Ohio rivals, the Cleveland Kong, in the first match, and they beat the Dogs pretty easily in the final match in that pool. So Crimson, great tournament in pools. Unfortunately, they were upset in the first round of the bracket by Swede, but they had a good event. Cleveland, not quite the event that I know they were looking for, although they did win a bracket match before losing to the Icemen.
Yeah, I think Cleveland going I think 2-2 in this event. If I'm correct, they went
That's
2
yeah,
and 2.
two and
They
two
beat
is
Kong,
correct.
beat the Brewers, and then
I think they
uh,
beat the Unicorns in bracket before losing to the Icemen. I think.
uh, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So I mean, the fact that they went 2-2 again, you look at points and what Kong's trying to accomplish. Kong's in a position where they could go and win 2 cups and then they're in. But I still think that what they did, they inched a lot closer to River City Flow, who had a significant lead at the beginning of the season. But the fact that River City Flow I think they only 3 points this event. Kong did what they needed to do. They're only, I think, 3 or 4 points behind them. They're in a good position right now to be able to leapfrog River City Flow if they continue to compete and then be as active as they are in the tier 2 events that have been going on.
And they have been playing a lot, both Kong and Crimson, and a lot of those East Division Tier 2 teams have been playing a lot on the side, which is really cool to see. So let's see that's it for pool play. Any other particular bracket matches we want to highlight?
No, I
No,
mean we could talk about Swede Crimson. I think that kind of worked out in Swede's favor, taking that
yeah,
14 and Crimson winning their pool. But I mean I think that this kind of played out after pool play happened, pretty much how you would expect it. There wasn't a whole lot of upsets out there. I think we talk about Dogs and how they were kind of spent. Lost Travelers did a good job with their experience taking care of Dogs. It just played out pretty much from there how I would have predicted. I think really the only highlight match right there would be Team Pineapple and Team Envy quarterfinal match. Maybe
Yeah,
a
that quadrant of the bracket, Pineapple, Emiola, Flow, and Envy, like those four teams in a corner is pretty stacked.
yeah. I mean, for a division cup, that's
That's
as solid
crazy.
as you're going to see
Yeah,
a bracket
totally.
right there. So I mean, obviously, when you get to the VLA Cup and you have 8 Tier 1 teams involved, it's going to be substantially more aggressive. But for a cup event, I think that you don't really want to be one of those four teams necessarily. So congrats to Team Envy going all the way as far as they did to the finals. Team Pineapple still a good event. Swede tried to recover, but when it comes down to it, they're in a tough spot. They really got to work hard to get out of that. So, but again, fantastic Central Division Cup. Huge shout out to Chicago Icemen for getting their first victory, and just moving forward from there.
Moving forward from there. So let's catch up on some of the tier two standings. We already looked at tier one, but you talked about the Milwaukee Dive getting to 59 points. That is just so commanding in the Central. I do not see them being caught. Basically, they're going to get promoted. I don't think they can get to 100 this year. But after the 2024 season, I think it's a no-brainer that we'll be seeing them up in tier one. The Buddy Bears 34 is a pretty nice number, a surprisingly high number in total points, 18 on the year. It certainly helped. They went out and played in San
Yeah,
Diego.
they're actually number one in Tier 2 right now, so they're actually leading the race to Tier 2 championships
This year's tier two
right now. And
championships,
so
right?
they're good probability. I think Buddy Bears is not playing East Division Cup, but they are playing the VLA Cup, and so that's pretty much going to be their last opportunity to claim the points that they need to get into Tier 2 championships. But they're in a good spot right now. I think that they're going to give some points. They might play some stuff in between, but I think that they're in a good position right now. And then moving down, I mean, you got Crimson right there. They're just playing a ton and ton of volleyball. Sorry,
17, yeah,
skipped up the
17
other one.
points already.
That attributes to everything that they're doing. You look at that; they've played more volleyball than any team in the entire league at this point. They've played 18 matches. No team is nearly close to that. And I mean, it shows that they're moving up in standings. They're moving up in their brackets. They're getting better opportunities to play a better team, not better team, easier teams, but they're playing lower seeded teams,
Right.
and that helped them a lot going into their upset of Chicago Swedes. So right there, they're doing a lot of the right things, and you got to give them a huge shout out. They got a lot of potential playing the East Division Cup and then playing the VLA
The
Cup too.
VLA Cup. The East Division's fun because you talked about it earlier already. The race between Cleveland and River City in points, they're very, very close. But you got to remember, Cleveland's got that one cup win, winning the East Division Cup last year when they were Team UCV. And will that come into play? It only would if one of these teams were to get to 3. And I'm not sure I see Cleveland getting to 3. So I think I'm with you. It's more likely that the East is going to come down to who gets to 100 points first, rather than who gets the 3 cup wins.
Right. I think where this would be a huge factor, and I think obviously Kong has proved that they can win a cup, because that's why you have that in the little notch in the cup wins right there. But are they going to win the East Division Cup? It's going to be really tough for them to do. Again, I see that if they are going to win, it's going to have to come at the Tier 2 championships, and they're really fighting right now for even a position in that. So they may not even get the qualification to make the Tier 2 championship. So,
top 4 teams, top 4 Tier 2 teams in 2023 points get an invite to the Tier 2 championships tournament, which if you win that does count as a cup win. It's important to make that clear.
Yeah, and so right now, I mean, does Kong have the opportunity? Yeah, they can do well. They can definitely have some good events coming up. Crimson is fighting hard for it. I think that Dive only playing the VLA Cup, they're going to get their points, but they could be a little bit of a question mark.
Yeah, but 15 in one event is so good, and they're playing an exhibition against the Chicago Icemen next week that'll count for points It would be just 1 point if they were able to win it, but I expect
They
them to
can't.
get another.
You
They
know,
can absolutely,
yeah,
and then they'll get another. They'll probably get another 10 points at the VLA Cup, no problem, because they're so good. So yeah,
yeah,
them, Buddy Bears, Inferno on or not Inferno, maybe Inferno just on volume, but they did not have as good of a tournament as they needed to have.
right.
Crimson on volume. Then in
Yeah,
the West, I mean, we
unicorns on volume as well.
unicorns
Unicorns
on
quite
volume.
a
I
bit.
mean, it,
I could see. I know that I know Dallas Dogs, I think, has a really good shot if they perform well at the VLA Cup, and then they are also playing another round robin up in Colorado at the end of the month. Another opportunity for them to earn some points, and so I think Dallas Dogs has a good shot. But and obviously Team Envy leading all of them has made it clear that they are not interested in competing in the Tier 2 championship. So really, I mean, you kind of cross off that 29 right there and just, focus on everything after that. But it is a really exciting race right now to see all these teams really, really going after it and all the different approaches that they are taking. Some of them are just playing cups. Some of them are, more focused on doing their individual events and trying to earn their points that way. It's really neat to see and follow along. I hope a lot more people are following this along because it's just an exciting race at the moment. And so
it's a sweet race. The tier two format is so cool. It's so cool, and like the way that the teams have been empowered to run their own events and be given points for it or earn points for it is just adding to the initiative that they can take to put themselves in position to play more and get even more points. It's a really cool race. The system the VLA has put together is really really cool. So this tab here on the website, the standings tab, it's got all the standings and it's got all the details about how tier one and tier two teams can earn points. So if you're new, give that a read. There's some good stuff
yeah,
in there.
absolutely, and it's exciting to see. I mean, some of these teams, like for example, Steel City Surge last weekend, putting together an event and playing on their home floor in Pittsburgh, and them going 2-0 against Crimson and Niagara Frontiersmen. Really cool to see teams get to play in their home city. That's something
Yeah,
that
it's
a
the
lot of,
best.
it used to be one of those, oh, bring the VLA here, bring the VLA. Well, the VLA is in your town. If you see one of these teams, go support them, and there's a lot of opportunities and teams are trying to play as much on their home floor and home turf as possible. So it's really exciting to see teams be able to play in front of and build their own fan base.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So many teams. It's crazy. What's the number at in tier two right now? 31. There are 31 teams in the tier two database. That is absolutely incredible. So
We have a handful standing by as well. It's not
seriously.
stopping. So yeah, it's
Awesome.
going to just continue to grow, and there's a lot of areas in the United States that are looking to put teams in, and it's really exciting to see. So you can't say enough about all the teams and all the work that they put into it. It's great for the league and the exposure that we get from because of everyone involved. That's kind of making the dream happen.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So check out the standings tab on the website for the latest. And anything else, Vince, about the Central Division Cup before we just kind of look up quickly at what's next for the league and then get the people out of here for the night?
No, I think we covered the Central Division Cup. Fantastic event, one of the best, definitely the biggest ever, but one of the best we've ever had. So, huge shout out to everyone involved. Tim Faulkner and yourself did a great job of managing the whole thing. And so, looking forward to more of just growth from here.
Yeah, more of the same. Yeah, check out the YouTube channel for all the matches. Go watch the final for sure. If you didn't watch the final, one of the best matches in league history. It was just awesome. So next up for the VLA, we've had a week or so off of legitimately big events, although there was the one in Pittsburgh over the weekend that Vince talked about. Next up for the VLA, and we'll do a show to preview this fully, but we want to put it on your radar, the East Division Cup coming up next, the first weekend of April, April 1st and 2nd. That's about 2.5 weeks from now. We're going to Albany, New York, home of Team LVC. I hear it's a gorgeous building. The Impact Athletic Center is the gym. I'm looking forward to being there. 10 teams. The field is set. The seating isn't guaranteed yet. That'll lock the Monday before or that Monday of the week of the tournament. But the field is set. You've got Team LVC, Boston Bounce, Northeast Force out of Tier 1, of course. Then the Cleveland Kong, River City Flow, New York Lost Travelers, Columbus Crimson, Kentucky Unicorn, Steel City Surge, and the Beer City Brewers out of Grand Rapids. All teams who pretty much all those tier 2 teams. Yeah, all 7 of them were there in Chicago a week and a half ago. So they'll all be coming in with plenty of experience. And we've already talked about a lot of the storylines in the East Division of Tier 1. So put this event on your radar. About 2.5 weeks, first weekend of April in New York is the next major event for the VLA, the East Division Cup.
Yeah, this is really exciting. I mean, a little bit more compact of an event. Half the teams that was in Central Division Cup. But I mean, definitely a full tournament. I mean, you don't look past a single team in this entire field, and so I'm excited to see how some of the teams respond. LVC obviously had a rough go up in Connecticut. I'm interested to see how they respond because I've heard that Joey Ramos will not be at that one as well. So it's going to be interesting how they manage their setter position. Boston Bounce, they're still just playing that median 500. Are they going to step up and make another finals run? They have a lot of potential. They would do well in one of these tournaments. Obviously, they did well in the last one, last East Division Cup, because of how much roster depth that they have. This, I feel like, should play into their advantage because they have a lot of guys they can work with and keep guys fresh. Then you talk about Force and their upstart, how well they've done. This is something that they need right now to not see LVC and Bounce twice.
Right.
I think they definitely could take advantage of some of the teams that they may play and really try to stack some points from some tier 2 teams, and that's really the opportunity that they have. And I hope that they can make the most of it because they're a team that you hate to see a team just get kicked around at the bottom for a while. I'm happy that they've won some matches. They finally get a little bit of comfort in their East Division, and now they get an opportunity to go and play against some a little bit of variety and try to get some wins. So I'm excited to see how they perform as well.
But like you said, a compact tournament with really good teams top to bottom. Like if it happens that the Steel City Surge end up being the 9 seed in this tournament, I do not envy whoever's going to have to play them in the first round. That is a really good 9 seed. Like if the Kentucky Unicorns end up being the 8 seed, which right now they would be, like that is a nasty 8 seed to have to play first thing in the morning. Like there are going to be some really, really good matches in this East Division Cup. So stay tuned to all the VLA platforms. This show, we'll do one in a couple weeks leading up to it, and we'll get the East Division Cup page on the website ready to go within about a week and a half before the event when a couple more details are put into place. So that's the next big event on the VLA calendar, and a lot to look forward to with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an exciting week.
All right, Vince, anything else, or can we get the people out of here for now?
Yeah, I guess we can let them go.
I guess we
getting late on the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
Daylight savings and everything.
Past midnight on the East Coast. Thanks, people. We love all you watching live and after the fact on Around the VLA. We'll be back in a couple weeks to preview the East Division Cup as we kind of look forward to the stretch run of the VLA season. I think we're technically either at the halfway point or just past it after the busiest month in the history of the league for sure. But couple weeks off here, another great tournament come up in New York, and we will be back here and Around the VLA to talk about it very, very soon. So follow us all the places you can follow us. A lot of detail on the website if you want to do some reading over there, and we'll see you next time on Around the VLA.